morning. My name is Delayne Sigerman, and I'm currently on the Kerrville City Council, Place 4. But today it's kind of a personal ambition of mine. I've been interviewing various folks around town to see how they fared through this pandemic. And I would have loved to have interviewed Chief Smith, who I have the pleasure with being with here this morning, earlier, except he was a little busy. So I have Chief Smith here with me, who was kind of a point person for the between the city and COVID and the hospital and various points of interest around the city, and it kept him busy. So I'm here today to ask you, how was your life before COVID, like a typical day, and then how did it change, and how exciting was that?
Okay. Well, first of all, Council Member, thanks for taking the time out to visit with me this morning. To say that I was a little busy in the initial stages of the pandemic is an understatement.
Right.
It got absolutely crazy there
Right.
at one point. And typically, emergencies are something that we handle in the fire department on a regular basis. But this pandemic has been a little different because, in the normal course of an emergency for the fire department or your police department, public safety, an incident happens, typically unexpected. We respond, and usually, over the course of a few hours, we can bring some type of conclusion to it. Sometimes it extends for, a day or more, but this pandemic has been going on now for several months, and there's no end in sight. But, life in the fire department is, it's public safety. So typically there's periods where things are not very active, and then all of a sudden we'll get an incident and we respond to it. And, so we're accustomed to going from 0 to 100 miles an hour in a matter of seconds. This pandemic, it just kind of eased its way into our community and into the state of Texas and, the nation or world as a whole. So we, I think, followed it early on and watched it and realized that it could be something significant here. But when cases began to develop in America, things just went absolutely crazy because the information was coming so fast and it was changing on such a regular basis. So it was a little difficult to keep up with it, but I think we have a good team in the city, and we did the best job we possibly could to manage our way through it. And I'm proud of what this city has done in its response to COVID-19 so far.
Me too. How much of your day would you say is, what percentage-wise is spent literally just on COVID stats and testing sites and just getting information out? How big a part of your day was that, or is that?
Early on, late January, February, March, up until probably April, 150% of my day was spent on COVID-19. And I say 150% because what I literally found myself doing was not only spending the entire work day and work week on COVID-19, but it required Saturday and Sunday and after hours and at night just to try to keep up and make sure that we were, as a team here in the city, putting together an effective response and communicating with the citizens. So it took the entire day,
So
sometimes nights, weekends also.
Bless your heart. You think, though, that these habits that we hopefully have established amongst our community and our citizens, wearing masks, socially distancing, or thinking more about, should I attend this event because there will be so many people from out of town, or do you think that caution mindset will help in flu season possibly? That, not everyone's going to wear a mask or social distance, but for those that never thought about it, we might. Perhaps that'll help a little bit.
I think it will help a whole lot. It's what all the experts in the CDC are telling us to do, that COVID-19 is still a threat to our community. And as a community, the best thing we can do is continue to follow those CDC guidelines in terms of face masks and social distancing. And if you're, with an age population that's at risk, if you don't have to be in crowds,
Right.
don't get in crowds. When you're in crowds, limit, try not to be a part of it. So moving forward, the best thing we can do as a community is to continue to follow those, good practices that we have,
So you heard it here first from the chief. Continue to follow those instructions, everyone. I've asked everyone this question. Do you find there was a silver lining through all of the chaos and the turmoil and the confusion? At least, everyone that I've talked to has had a silver lining, that they discovered doing things they hadn't done before, reading things, catching up on reading, catching up with friends, and maybe perhaps for you it was creating new instruction manuals. But anyway, do you have anything to say about that, perhaps?
I think the silver lining I would like to focus on, I've worked through a number of disasters, and, coming from the Houston area, and one thing that is a proven factor, in any type of disaster or a significant incident like we're experiencing now, is typically the breakdown occurs in communication and coordination. And I'm very pleased with how the major entities in our community that need to come together to manage this in a positive way came together to try to put together an effective response for this community. To bring together the city, the county, Peterson, KISD, Shriner,
Right.
The key players in this community to say, let's put our heads together and try to get our arms around this and manage it. So that was a very, very bright spot for me to be able to come together with those groups and then work together to, have an effective response. And, what so far I think has been a positive outcome for our community, and hopefully we can get to the end of it and continue to expound on those relationships where, it gets better. Hopefully we'll never have to deal with something like this again.
Right.
But if we do, I think we've got that,
You got the
coordination to
confidence
point back to and
Right.
say, hey, this worked for us then.
Right.
Let's come together and make it work again in the future.
What are you going to do with your time now when you retire? When is your retirement date? Or
So I've given the city an effective date of January 1st, 2020.
oh, okay, I was thinking it was November. So
Well,
I mean, no,
we're
I'm
not gonna-
happy that it's not.
Yeah, January 1st, 2021
Okay.
is the effective date.
Okay.
And so I'm looking forward to it. You and I were talking a little about golf before this interview started, and most people that know me know I have quite a few hobbies. In fact, the wife says I have too many. So
Is there such a thing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to spending some time.
Well, it's kind
doing
of
the
like this
things I
huge
enjoy
wave
doing.
you've been riding right before retirement, so you probably will really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast time goes.
Yes, it's true.
November 30th will mark the 39-year period for me in the fire service.
Maybe
and,
that's where I got the November date.
yeah, it looks like it was just yesterday
Right.
when I entered the service,
And you
but
haven't
it really
changed
goes
it.
by fast. Well, I hope not.
Thank you for keeping us on track and safe. And you have any last parting words you'd like to leave us with?
Just, I'd like to thank you for taking the opportunity out to come and share with me and the fire department this morning and give us this
My
opportunity.
pleasure.
This has been an awesome opportunity to serve in Kerrville. I say it privately all the time to the firefighters and even to city leadership, but I'll say it publicly today. I've been blessed to serve in this community, one of the best communities I've ever served in, and certainly one of the best teams I've ever worked with. Outside of that, I think the city has done a very good job, and the citizens were a large part of that to work through COVID-19. I'd just like to encourage them to, keep that up in the future. All of the good things that we've talked about in this interview that helped us get to the point that we're at today. That's what we're going to have to do to make sure we get to a positive end, with COVID-19. So thank you, citizens. Keep the good work up.
I hope by the time you do actually walk out the door for the last time that we can say it is behind us. Perhaps maybe in January we will have come a long distance. But
I hope
thank
so.
you for helping us get there.
Thank
And
you for taking the time out
You're
this morning.
welcome.